Well, this past Sunday we had two amazing wrestling shows. The first one is coming from Gatoh Move Pro Wrestling, where they have a gauntlet match to celebrate the birthday of their tag team champions, the BestBros, facing maybe 5 teams or so. But also we cannot forget about AEW's biggest pay-per-view of the year, or should I say the flagship pay-per-view that started it all over 2 years, almost 2 years ago. We're talking about Double or Nothing. We got some incredible matches. Who actually walked out as the AEW World Champion? Did Britt Baker fulfill her promise to become Women's Champion? And of course, was this the end of the Inner Circle? Well, let's review, discuss, and talk about it on this episode of Deleted WrestleZone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted WrestleZone. All things that it's pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I'm your host, J-Rod here. Now, before I start reviewing these two wrestling shows that I am excited to review for all of you, but I know some of you are excited to hear the AEW Double or Nothing. But right now, this is news coming from AEW, if you guys don't know. Recently, they have fired a Spanish commentator named Will Urbina. Turns out that he made a mockery on Hikaru Shida's speaking language. Basically, it was something that AEW will not tolerate. When this came around, people were hoping that this guy would get fired as soon as possible, and they eventually did. Now, keep in mind, people, this is the kind of promotion you need to understand. Some of you are saying, probably question, why can't WWE do things like that? Well, they have their own ways. But AEW wants to make this a good environment for whoever walks into their doors. And that's a good thing, because they're not playing around. They want to show, not only to the fans, but to the rest of the wrestling world, they mean business. They will not tolerate this type of behavior, which is a good thing. So, great job, AEW. You did the right thing. But now, let's talk about Gatoh Move Pro Wrestling. Okay, now if you guys love Gatoh Move Pro Wrestling, then you guys know I love watching it. I mean, it's a different type of wrestling show. Nothing compared like we see with the others, with AEW, WWE, and all that. But it's a fun show to watch. Now, people could consider that as a Yoshi promotion, but we have seen multiple show up, which is okay. That's how they want to operate, and I don't have a problem with it. But this particular one is on a ChocoPro event, which is 122 episode. And this is a celebration of the BestBros. If you guys don't know who they are, those who do, the BestBros are the current Asian Dream Tag Team Champions. They have been for almost, they're getting close to almost, they're passing like maybe over 150 plus days. They had many challengers over time. You probably say yourself, why they call themselves the BestBros? Easy. There's Balianaki. He considers Mei Shiruga his best bro. You know, that's why they call her the Big Apple. She's always happy. But when it comes to getting in the ring, she gets fired up. But this particular ChocoPro event is special because these guys, I don't know how many times they had defended these tag titles. I think my favorite moment of them was when Antonio Honda has been determined to get his hands on these titles. There was the first time it happened is when he faced Mei Shiruga like a couple months ago, but except he forgot, you're not in a tag team match, you're in a singles match. So even Emi Sakura actually reminded him that. But even though he brought his tag team partner, what's her name, Tokiko Kirihara, and Emi Sakura still will not allow them to. But the match was good, even though they lost. But this time, this is a gauntlet match. And one thing that comes around is the Best Bros with their brand new gear. I have to say, I like their gear. It's pretty amazing. I enjoy it. I'll probably show it when this is over and you guys get to see it, if they have it. If they don't, I apologize. Now, their first opponent is Sayaka, and someone who they face many times over, Tokiko Kihara. This is one of those matches like, okay, it was a good start, but how do I feel about them starting the match? Well, I don't know. But it was a good match. It feels like, okay, a pretty good warm-up, but I did expect somehow the Best Bros were going to overcome it when they actually pinned, what's her name, Kirihara, and the match was over. But their opponents, well, they know both of them, both either in tag teams or in individuals, because both of them have been in various teams in the past. Their next opponent is, of course, Emi Sakura and Yuna Mizumori. This match was more aggressive because they're determined. Now, keep in mind, if you guys understand the Japanese rules or any other way, if you pin a champion, then you actually get an automatic chance. They look more determined to beat them in order to get a shot of the Asian Dream Tag Team titles. And that's kind of like would make a lot of sense. But I have to say it was really, really amazing. But however, the job was not done because it was time limit draw. Both teams were unhappy. Balianaki felt that they were close enough to beat them, but it didn't happen. So, I mean, it's a sad shame, but it is what it is. Their next opponents, it's a couple of people that they're aware of. Lulu Pencil, the leader of the Pencil Army, teaming with Chon Chiru. Lulu continues to have a new attitude recently since she lost to Chris Brooks. But however, it was a good thing to use it because you may never know if she could get a chance of the tag team titles. But you couldn't expect a whole lot because the Best Bros will always be the Best Bros. It's a good match. It was like, I'll give this match like maybe somewhere around. Well, the first match I give it a 7. The second match I give it a 8.5. This one I give it also a 7. So basically, it wasn't like that intensifying like the first one. But it was really, really good. It was good. But however, it was the Best Bros that took the victory. But the next one, they faced off Chiko Ishikawa and Hagane Shinju, who they faced off, or they call themselves the Egg Tarts. Longtime rivals, these guys have been back and forth. But Ishikawa immediately went after Mei Shiruga. I was like, wow, she's all fired up. She wants to win. It's like, you got to keep in mind, these challengers are trying to win. They want to get a shot of the Asian Dream Tag Team titles. That's what they want. And of course, the Best Bros had defended those titles proud. And I didn't expect a whole lot. If I have to rate this one, I give it a 9. Because they actually did the best they could. But however, Best Bros always come up. But however, their next challengers, I was like, what the fudge? Once again, Emi Sakura and Yuna Mizumori. You probably ask yourselves, again? Yeah. My reaction as well. But these two are determined. Now, you probably say, why is Emi Sakura and Yuna Mizumori want to have this? Easy. Emi's the owner, the promoter. She can do whatever she wants. And I'm like, of course. But this time, you can tell the Best Bros have wasted all their energies with the other matches that they recently had. But the real question is, did they have enough to withstand them? Answer to that question is no. Yuna was able to pin Mei Shiruga and it was over. But the real talk is, do Mizunuri and Sakura will get an opportunity of the Asian Dream Tag Team titles? Well, most likely we can see that happen. But the question is, when? And I did like the post-match promo that the Best Bros put out about how Balianaki feels teaming up with Mei Shiruga, being her friend, being friends, and he considers her his best bro. And of course, Mei Shiruga feel the same way about him. And I thought it was a very touchy promo. I cried. And yes, I say this over. It's okay to cry, damn it. It's okay. But yeah. But the party did not end there. Now, I normally don't do this when it comes to Gatoh Move. They had this thing where it's like the rock, paper, scissors, but they call it Jakunmin match. I don't follow that much, but they kind of continue on. But however, they continue to celebrate the birthday of the Best Bros, which was good. They had like the happy birthday balloons and all that. But the biggest surprise is Aneki, Ryo Mizunami. She showed up with a cake. I did not expect that with having Ryo Mizunami showing up. I'm like, wow. She knows how to make an entrance and knows how to throw a party. So I was happy. And I'm glad to see her. You know, it was like great timing. I enjoyed it. I have to say, the Best Bros will be my favorite tag team in Gatoh Move. And I will always support them. Even if they lose the titles, I will always support them. And I love the Best Bros. So I think that's said and done. I say let's move on to the one pay-per-view we all want to review and discuss about. I'm talking about Double or Nothing. Okie dokie. So we now have Double or Nothing by AEW. Man, it's great to see fans there again. I love it. I have to say I enjoyed it. Now, we normally don't talk about the buy-in, but however, if there's something cool in the buy-in, we have to put it up. And the only match they had in the buy-in was, in fact, the NWA Women's World Championship on the line. Challenger, the first AEW Women's Champion, Riho, versus Serena Deeb. I have to say the match was incredibly good because if you guys see the dynamics of each wrestler, you have Riho, who's like a very fast-paced wrestler, or as they call it in Japan when she was with Stardom, a high-speed wrestler. She relies on her speed and all that, even for a girl of her size. You look at Serena Deeb, a veteran, who is now the female version of Dean Malenko, with the woman of 1,000 holds, or should I say 1,000 holds in one, or 1,001 holds. I don't know. They had to change that a little bit, but it was a good match. Now, I did like what the commentators were mentioning in this particular match. If you guys know this or not, both women have come across each other before. This was in the first round in the AEW Women's World Championship Eliminator, and it was Riho who beat Serena Deeb in the first round. Could this be payback that Serena Deeb needed to take on Riho? Well, it most likely is, because you got to keep in mind, this is like one of those revenge types. But like I said, you look at Serena Deeb using whatever hole she can find to use to weaken Riho. And there was moments where Riho was grabbing her knee, like she might have hurt herself. I'm not sure, but she did state it that she's now going to make the United States her home base now. So I'm assuming she's going to be moving to U.S. permanently. You probably ask yourselves where the hell she's been since then. I'm like, well, I'm assuming she might have been packing her stuff from Japan and now. But back to the match. I have to say it was a really good match. If I have to rate this one, I give it a 9 on this one. Because the reason I say that is because you got two different dynamics in this one. Now, I must confess to all of you guys, I saw something in this type of on social media about this match. Some people were expecting Camille to show up and attack Serena Deeb. I'm like, there's no way it's gonna happen. The reason I say this, Nick Aldis has no intentions of going AEW. Why would anybody from his faction would want to go there? I mean, it would make no sense to them. That's what he posted out. But I would like to see that. Trust me. But however, Serena Deeb was able to utilize every submission move to hurt Rio on her knee and force her to tap out. So it was a good match. Now we get to the main card. Opening match. It was in fact Brian Cage versus Hangman Page. Taz was on commentary, of course. But the real question is the rest of Team Taz in the back? That's the key. But the match was awesomely good, going back and forth, kicking out of every count out, every pinfall, everything. They even tried each other's moves. I mean, Cage was trying to use the buckshot lariat. I forgot what Cage's move that Hangman did. It was kind of crazy. But there was a moment in this one, Team Taz showed up, Hook and Starks. Starks even tossed the FTW title, but Cage does not want it. Brian Cage was right. I mean, Hangman Page was right. He didn't need any help. He could actually do it, but that's the problem. Because the thing is this, Hangman knows Team Taz are all in it for their own selves, their own selfish needs. Hangman, he's in it because he knows he has to win. And that's what I like about that. So, Hangman won, all thanks. But Taz is not a happy camper. But we got to see what's going to happen this Friday when Team Taz confront Brian Cage over his loss. Now, the next match is the AEW World Tag Team titles between Eddie Kingston, Jon Moxley versus the Young Bucks. Of course, their young boy Brian Cutler was there, even though there were moments where he got beat up by both men. It was a good match. Like, you don't know what to expect in a whole lot, because did we expect that they were going to be dropping these titles? You may never know. But however, it was a good match. They tried every move they did. But I think the best moment is the ending, where they did multiple BTE triggers. And it was the only way to put down Moxley. And of course, Moxley stood as much as possible until it was finally over. And of course, the Young Bucks retained the titles. But however, the Good Brothers showed up during the match. I forgot to mention this. But during the match, while they were trying to hurt Kingston and Moxley, here comes the Elite Hunter himself, Frankie Kazarian. Now, as you know, he hasn't forgotten what the Young Bucks did in when they caused SCU's existence to dissolve. This is one of those times where Kazarian will get his payback. Now, is the feud between both the Bucks and Kingston and Moxley over? I don't know. But I would like to see Moxley and Kingston, to be honest with you, teaming up with Frankie Kazarian. It would be a good faction. They could be the new version of the Elite Hunters, because if you guys know this or not, Billy Gunn was part of the Bullet Club Hunters. The Hunter Clubs, which is guys who are hunting the Bullet Club. So, I would like to see that. Now, let's jump into the Casino Battle Royale. This is exciting. Like, you don't know who is going to be the lucky recipient to be the number one contender to face whoever walks out of the AEW World Championship Triple Threat match. So, here's who they have, starting with the clubs: Christian Cage, Matt Sydal, Powerhouse Hobbs, Dustin Rhodes, and of course Max Caster. The Diamonds: Isaiah Cassidy, Matt Hardy, 10, Nick Camarado, and Serpentico. Hearts: both members of the Varsity Blondes. Boom Boom, Cole Cabana, Boom Boom, Anthony Bowen, and finally, Cero Miedo. So Penta is in it, and now let's jump in who comes in for the Spades, Jungle Boy, Mark Quinn, Aaron Solo, Evil Uno, and Lee Johnson. But however, who is number 21? Who drew the Joker card? And to my surprise, I did not expect this one whatsoever. Lio Rush. I have to say it was a very interesting choice. Now you probably say to yourself, wait a minute, it's Lio Rush with MLW and New Japan? Yes. I mean, that is true. I'm assuming that Lio Rush is a freelancer. That's my initial assumption, but it was good. But I think the best moment of this entire match is how this was going to end. It was towards the end where we have all members of the 3 members of the Hardy family office were in front of Christian and Jungle Boy. So basically it was like a 3-on-2 scenario. But I think the bigger threat was in fact Hardy and the Private Party being there, and they were able to eliminate them all. But I think the best match was when Jungle Boy realized as soon as all the members of the Hardy family office were out, he's facing against a legend, and that kind of plays out pretty well if you understand this. So, but I did not expect it a whole lot. I can see Christian, he wants to face for the title. This is something that Jungle Boy needs to win because he is the fan favorite. And I think it was a beautiful moment to see these two clash. But however, who came on top? Jungle Boy. It was the best moment. I once again, I cried. I'm not going to lie. I cried because it's the best moment. And of course, you have the other members of Jurassic Express, Marco and Luchasaurus, congratulating him that he actually fulfilled something that he deserved. And of course Christian was there, and he tells him to take this moment, earn it. He wants him to fulfill his dream to become champion. That is a great advice from a guy like him. So this is going to be great. But however, we do know Jungle Boy has to pay attention who he's going to face for the AEW World title. So let's keep moving forward. The next match is Battle of Two Countries. We got Anthony Ogogo, the British, versus the one night only American Dream, Cody Rhodes. Now, to be honest with you, I wasn't feeling too excited like I thought I should. I felt like, okay, it was a good match. I mean, there were moments where Anthony Ogogo was using his boxing technique, getting him on the gut. I feel like you put a boxer versus a wrestler, and it's kind of like, I don't know. I wasn't too much excited. Don't get me wrong. I did like the concept of the British versus Americans, but I wasn't too much excited. But I'll tell you anyway, I wasn't surprised to see how this was going to end. I was like thinking, okay, it had to be Cody. He's the American Dream for the night. And that's how I see it. But like I said, I wasn't excited too much. So that's practically it. Now, the next match was the TNT Championship. Lance Archer versus the champion, Miro. It was a very tough match because, as you know, Miro has proven that he is a dominant champion ever since he beat Darby Allin. Lance Archer wants to fulfill his shot, like take Sting's advice, make it showtime. But at the beginning of the match, where the hell was Jake Roberts? That's the thing that we did not see. But he was there. He showed up as soon as later with the snake. And of course, Miro tossed the snake. Someone posted on Twitter saying, someone call PETA. So I thought that was funny. But I kind of like thinking, okay, is it too soon to drop the title from Miro? I feel like, yeah, it is too soon. I don't think AEW may not want to drop this title, and I feel like they need to continue more with him, that make him that guy that we can say WWE has failed to capitalize, to make him be. That's the thing the AEW want to focus on. With him winning, we can see that happening. Now, the biggest news came around. As you know, we have Double or Nothing already. Their next pay-per-view, All Out, has been announced. Is going to take place once again, in Chicago on September 5th of this year. And I'm assuming tickets are on sale, but we'll see what they're going to go. The next match is the AEW Women's World Championship between challenger Britt Baker versus Hikaru Shida. Now, this is one of those matches that you can tell is going to be special because you have Hikaru Shida, who's been the longest reigning champion during a time when the world went to hell during the pandemic. You can expect a whole lot versus Britt Baker, who I think many fans since AEW started probably thought she should have been the champion from the start. But you got to remember, like, she started out as a face and then she turned into a heel. That kind of faded out. But I like how this story progressed over time about Britt Baker saying, okay, yes, I think my strategy being who I am didn't do me any good. Maybe that was my mistake. I lost to Shida. Maybe her breaking my nose woke me up or something. You know, that's the thing. But of course, there was great moments where they kicked out and that kind of thing. But once again, Rebel, who fakes her clutch in her leg injury and all this and that, gets in the way. But it was like, man, it was so good. If I have to rate this one, I give it a 10. It was so good. And of course, at the end, we finally have a new AEW Women's World Champion, and that is Britt Baker. And of course, Tony Schiavone show up to congratulate her. So, it's already been announced that this coming Dynamite, Britt Baker will be celebrating her win. Now, are we going to be able to see Shida in a rematch? I'm not sure. But, however, keep in mind, now that she's the new AEW World Women's Champion, she has a target on her back. Who else wants to get that title? I can guess a few, but there's one who was currently number 2, and I believe she's currently number 1. Oh yeah, it's her longtime rival, Thunder Rosa. Now the next match is more of a grudge match between two teams. Scorpio Sky, Ethan Page versus Sting and Darby Allin. Man, that match was insane. Now, I know people were skeptical on this one because of Sting, of his age. We have seen him in the match at, what was it? Revolution for that street fight that he was in. But man, that match was good. I have to say it's one of those matches like, wow, Sting still has it even after 6 years. I think Sting felt like he wants to end his career in a way which is more symbolic. More way of saying, okay, I'm done. But this match could be the beginning of that sooner. Well, not sooner, but more like saying, okay, I still got it. But what I did like is how Sting was able to win the match by putting Scorpio Sky in the Scorpion Death Drop, and that was too awesome to watch. I enjoyed it. I think this match was one of those questions. Can Sting handle it for someone his age? Can he actually withstand every bump that he is tossed? That is something that has to be on everyone's minds throughout the entire wrestling world, and the wrestling community were thinking in their minds, can Sting do this? I'm not sure. But it did. Now let's go to the AEW World Championship match in a no disqualification match. Orange Cassidy versus Pac versus Kenny Omega. The match was great. There were some good, funny moments. I did enjoy it, especially with Orange Cassidy. But however, you can tell at certain points that there were chances. I have to say it was good as well. Like, who was going to be the one to win it? How this was going to go. But however, there were moments where you see, okay, Kenny will make sure he won't lose. Like, keep in mind, Kenny doesn't have to be pinned or submitted. But that was the case. But however, the invisible hand decides to get his nose where it doesn't belong. He pulled out Bryce because he thinks he has to protect his investment. And then, of course, Kenny hurt Bryce, but it did allow Aubrey Edwards to win. Now, some people can say this match was stolen from Orange Cassidy. Now, I have to say, what do I get the feeling that Orange Cassidy's not going to stop there? Think about it. Think about it. He probably would want another shot of the title, but this time, one-on-one. Because Kenny got away with it, because that's how Don Callis rolls. Now let's get to the main event. Well, before we jump in, there's two things that took place before that with the Stadium Stampede. Full Gear has been announced for November 6th at St. Louis, Missouri. And I'm sure tickets will be on sale on that. And finally, Shivani gave a very interesting news. As you've been aware, we have seen that there's going to be a new AEW show on TNT, Rampage. And they announced a brand new AEW analyst and coach, the world's strongest man, Mark Henry. Wow. That is news. So I'm excited. And there's that. So let's get to Stadium Stampede. Inner Circle showed up in a limo, but I have to say I like how Chris Jericho actually dropped in from the screen going down. Now, what did I thought? Like, every moment you see, like, almost similar to what happened last year, but way more better. Even the coaches were there in the match. I enjoyed it. But here's the key things that I did like to see. Conan was there as a DJ. I said the Jack's coach. The Inner Circle Motorcycle Club. And then finally we saw exactly. Now I'm going to skip to the end because this is where it gets a little interesting. As you know, we were told last year that the Stadium Stampede was pre-taped. Well, this one was, but however, the part that was interesting is when they came out to the audience. Jericho had MJF, and of course, Sammy had Shawn Spears. I have to say, this match with Sammy and Shawn Spears was symbolic because it kind of felt like Sammy saved the Inner Circle in every aspect. And I'll give you guys the reason that on my final thoughts on this one as soon as I'm done. But it was great, and I have to say the ending where Sammy picked up the victory, and of course people singing along to Judas was the best. And I have to say I went really long on this segment because it's so exciting. There's a lot of things that took place. So, Inner Circle still here, but let's jump in to my final thoughts. Alright, so here are my final thoughts on AEW Double or Nothing. Now, as I said before, I normally don't do the buy-in because some people cannot consider that important anymore because why? But having the NWA Women's Championship match, some of you probably saying, how would this affect now with, NWA and all? It doesn't. It kind of like we have been seeing cooperation between both NWA and AEW together in the past. And I know fans were expecting Camille to show up, but like I said before, they're not interested in doing that, so I'm fine with the idea. I mean, look, were we expecting to see Serena Deeb, drop the title at AEW Double or Nothing's buy-in? No. Because I think the idea, maybe there is a possibility she could drop the title at the NWA brand. But the real question is, how would they present it? We were expecting, if you guys followed NWA, that we were supposed to have a number one contendership and in the draw in the last in a NWA Power. But that's how it goes. So, like I said, I rate this one either an 8 or a 9, somewhere around there. Now, the opening match between Brian Cage and Hangman, I rate this one also an 8.5. Because it did tell the story that Hangman was right all along about Brian Cage. That you can beat me even without your friends. And that's the story it's going on. If you guys recall, Brian Cage, not too long ago, spoke out about how Ricky Stark was wrong about Sting, and basically there's been a dispute over that. So Brian Cage is now feeling like, you don't need to speak for me. You don't need to fight for me. I can do it all by my own. I think we may be seeing that sort of dynamic being played out. But could we see that as Taz could be the one leaving or being kicked out of Team Taz? I don't know. But all we can do is wait and see in the upcomings. But I have to say the storyline was great between Cage and Hangman on this one. Now, the tag team titles, I can say this. It was a good match, too. Because it kind of said, okay, here's the same, this old attitude of the Young Bucks that we remembered from years ago back, taking on a group of hooligans or thugs that people would say, especially Don Callis. And we got to be honest. Did we expected the titles to be dropped? To me, I feel like there was a 50-50 chance it could happen. But I think we could say, okay, who will be the lucky recipients to face the Young Bucks? Well, we don't know that. I mean, the last people to face them was, of course, for the titles before these guys was Varsity Blondes. And I think that's kind of like the point. But who will be the lucky recipients? I don't know. The Casino Battle Royale. I have to say it was possibly one of the best ones because it was a lot of interesting entrances, especially when we saw Matt Hardy and Isaiah Cassidy walked in together, and same thing with Varsity Blondes. But like I said, I did like how the ending went because it did tell the story in every way. You saw Matt Hardy, who is determined to win a chance of the AEW World Title. You saw Christian Cage in the same manner. But I think when Jungle Boy and Christian Cage got rid of the Hardy family office, both Hardy and the Private Party, that's when you see, okay, you got a veteran wrestler taking on a new generation wrestler. This is like, okay, Jungle Boy is on maybe a little bit pressured, knowing, okay, I got this. But I think it played out pretty well. The show, okay, we have this younger, talented wrestler that people are behind, And that kind of, how do I say, tells its own self in its own story because, face it, Jungle Boy is like one of the fan favorites. I mean, first time I heard of him, I'm like, wow, I never heard of him. And then learning more about who he is, who his dad is, that kind of, sorry, a little light here. So it kind of made his own, how do I say, story to be told. And that's what I think it was good about Jungle Boy winning the Casino Battle Royale. It, like I said, it's already been announced that he will be facing Kenny in 2 weeks' times for the title. Now, I did state it in the Anthony Ogogo versus Cody. I wasn't too much fond of it. I think there was not flaws, but I think it was like I wasn't too much into it. I mean, I think the beginning felt okay. The match is going to be interesting. You got a member of the Factory who is at war with a member of the Nightmare family. I think that's the thing that kind of got me. But I feel like it didn't feel like that in certain ways because I think in the back of my head I was thinking, okay, you got Solo, Nick Comoroto, who are going to come out and help, Anthony Ogogo to ensure they win the match to show that they are superior than the Nightmare family. And that kind of was in my head, but I feel it wasn't, you know? And that kind of made me think, okay, it didn't go exactly like I maybe imagined. I don't know how you guys would feel about it, but that's how I felt. Now the TNT title match, it was good because it did show, okay, you got two strong men. You got Miro, who is the best man. You got Lance Archer, the Murder Hawk. You kind of think, okay, this is going to be a better. But we have to be honest on this one. Did we expect Miro to drop the title in a short period of time? I know it has been done before, but I feel they could go on more with him because let's face it, we didn't see this is the Miro we should have seen back in WWE when he was Rusev. And that's the thing that many fans have been talked about. We didn't see this person that we wanted to see. And I think it kind of played out pretty well too. But did we expect, Miro to drop it? No, I don't think we have. I mean, I feel like the match was good. Don't get me wrong. But I did not expect they were going to drop the title that quickly. And that's what I was thinking of. And I have to say it was a really, really good match. How it played out. Especially when Miro grabbed the snake bag and tossed it. And someone go, call Peter! So I think that's pretty well. Now for the AEW Women's title match, that was a good one too. I think it was one of the best matches as well of the night. Because, let's be honest, I think Hikaru Shida did hold the title very too well. She was a good champion. She went in a long reigning champion. I mean, look, we gotta ask ourselves this question. Who would have been the one to carry that title loud and proud in a time where we're dealing with the pandemic? And I feel Shida kind of stepped up to that. And I feel there's nothing wrong with that. But I think we really need to see someone else, how would they carry the title in their reign. And I think that's going to be Britt Baker who could do that. And I feel, okay, she could do that. But now the real question remains. Who will be the lucky person to get a shot at her, I mean, right now we do know that when she was number one, Thunder Rosa is number two. Would it be her, or she'll let others, take a shot at her to take her at the biggest moment? That's also been played out before, too, in the past. But we'll see where that goes, and I have to say, I'm okay with the idea. Sting and Darby Allin versus Sky and Paige, awesome match. I know there's been a lot of people that have been talking about this, like this was Sting's first match in 6 years. I have to say it did played out good. I have to say for a guy in his age who wrestled that well, because I know there are people say he could get hurt, and I know he got injured when in his previous promotion with WWE in the match against Seth Rollins. I think they may have planned everything well good to ensure he doesn't get hurt. And I think that's the key thing, because I know for a fact Tony Khan would never want nothing to happen to him. And we have to think about that. Do we really need to see Sting hurt completely? No. Do I think Tony Khan will figure something out to make this match happen and to make sure Sting is in perfect condition or in perfect health to ensure that he doesn't get extremely hurt? Yeah, I would say he would do that. And we need to think that way, because that's how it works with Tony Khan. Making sure your people are safe and healthy, how this match would play out. Then we got the AEW World's Championship match. Now, I could say it was one of the best ones for Kenny and Pac and Orange, because anything could happen in this type of match, because triple threats, it's very unpredictable, because it's simple. Kenny doesn't need to be submitted, doesn't need to be pinned. Pac could pin or submit Orange Cassidy, or Orange Cassidy could pin and submit Pac. And it's simple. It's game over. That's how the general rule works in these type of matches. And I have to say it does play out. But I think the way I did like is how Don Callis would play out is like to ensure Kenny remains the champion. And I think that's the key thing. Because Kenny right now, we don't know for sure what other titles is he trying to obtain. We do know that Moose is up for grabs for the Impact World title. Andrade El Idolo, formerly from WWE, It's currently ups and grabs for the AAA Mega Championship at Triple Mania. But who will be the next titles? And could it be the NWA World Heavyweight title that Nick Aldis currently holds, or is it also the IWGP World Heavyweight title that is currently vacant, but we're expecting for a new crown to happen in Dominion? I don't know. But I have to say, Kenny maybe retaining the title could be a good thing because we want to see the Kenny we want people are expecting. But do we expect him to hold those titles for long? I don't know. We have to wait and see how this one. But I do feel that maybe we could see a one-on-one feud with Orange Cassidy because I feel he probably felt that he was robbed from this match because he had everything under control if it wasn't for Don Callis. And I think, in my opinion, it felt natural. It could go in that direction. But like I said, we're just going to wait and see on Dynamite, see where they're going to start from there. Now, for the Stadium Stampede, well, never mind, let's talk about Mark Henry being there. Is it a good thing? I have to say yes. I know people will talk about this. We don't want to see any of the WWE veterans showing up there. Like, keep in mind, it's a good thing for the younger generation to learn from these guys. I mean, that's the whole point. You know, you need veterans to teach the younger generations what they need to do. You know, and that's a good thing. And sometimes we ask ourselves, does that happen with WWE that often? Like, how well do we need those? How, like, the coaches, how do they work on that? You know what I mean? And that kind of plays out. And I think for Mark Henry working in AEW for Rampage as the analyst and coach, that's going to be a good thing. And I think it would play out pretty well, in my opinion. Now for the Stadium Stampede, what I think of it. I have to say, far more better than the first one because I was expecting it was going to be pre-taped because it did happen like that last year. But I think one thing that felt natural was, okay, we see here comes MJF all bleeded, running away from Jericho, and of course, but you got to understand how they rehearse this pretty well. Like, you know, coming from the stadium, the TIAA Stadium all the way to Daly's place. And I think that kind of played out another well because maybe they rehearsed it or choreographed the whole thing and all of that. And I think that kind of went in every direction we needed to see. And I think many fans probably weren't expecting that because we were, like I said, last year it was pre-taped. But seeing this happen right there, yeah. But, and I did state it in the end of this first segment, reviewing AEW Dynamite. I said that it's symbolic that Sammy actually won. You probably asked me why. Think about it. Let's go back to a couple months ago. Sammy did not like the idea of having MJF join the Inner Circle. So he felt there's something odd here. I don't like this. And he's been saying this. And he was trying to warn Jericho. He warned Santana Ortiz and Hager, all four of these guys. No one listened. And then it happened. You know, they found out, oh, Sammy was right. There was something odd about him. And I think this was like the way of saying Sammy saved the Inner Circle because he knew it was going to be destroyed with MJF at the helm. That's always been MJF being in Inner Circle. Like, that kind of felt natural. I think the storyline felt perfectly. Sammy saved the day. Sammy saved the Inner Circle. We should praise him what he did, doing the right thing. And I think it played out, in my opinion, in that well. If you guys see it in that, if you wanted to believe that. So that's how I see it. I don't know how you guys would see it. So I hope you guys enjoy that. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode reviewing Gatoh Move's ChocoPro 122, celebrating the Best Bros birthday, but also seeing AEW Double or Nothing. I have to say it was a far awesome show. I gave it a double thumbs up on this one. It was super dope. Like I said, I wasn't too fond of the Anthony Gogo or Cody, the Anthony Gogo versus Cody. But everything else was great. I have to say, I think if you probably asked me a whole lot, that's how it rolls. But right now, just let you guys know, the next upcoming episodes, I will review the last New Japan shows that I haven't reviewed yet from Road to Wrestle Grand Slam. Also, AEW Dark Elevation. Hopefully, we get to see that. But also, I want to remind everybody that right now, as you know, AEW will be on a Fridays. It's gonna happen. But also, let you guys know, it's been announced that recently, Bear Country and Mark Sterling Esquire, the attorney, are now full time with AEW. For me, I want to confess, I had a feeling that Bear Country will be signed, and that is a good thing. I think I enjoy that. I think I'm happy with the idea of Bear Country being in AEW. I feel like they're a perfect team to be in the tag team division. But also, it's been announced that the meeting has been postponed for a while, but we'll see when that comes back. There's been a lot of postponement due to the surge that's been going on in Japan for the coronavirus. Um, we'll see where they're going to go. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time in the same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye. Mwah, and have a nice day. Bang!